Hello.
Hello.
How y'all doing? Jack and Matt
I'm doing.
are here on Always Strikes Last.
Exactly. And if you've noticed there's not a third voice, it's because while you are normally treated to a tripod of strength on this show, today you have merely a duopoly.
2 legs, a bipod, if you will.
Bipod, a walking man.
Mm-hmm.
With a voice, 2 voices.
So I'm just gonna get straight into it, Jack.
Jump into it. Don't even hesitate. These people deserve what you have to offer. And I think that you're about to maraud all over this episode with some thoughts.
Can we talk about what pictures just got released on Warhammer Community? We don't normally do this shit, but can we talk about the Darkoath we should have gotten? My goodness. That Chaos Marauders Army Reinforcement set is beautiful.
I think it's a good thing we have to focus on because this is the first time I think this has ever happened for the Age of Sigmar focused player, right? Because most of the time, like you see some like old world model and you're like, this is cool. I love this game or loved this game in the past when I used to play square bases. This is not a model I need in my army. This is not a model which suits my army. This is a thing which might be conversion fodder, like, Cathay or whatever. But you're not really like too chuffed. Or maybe you're mad. You look at these guys and say, this is the model that used to be my army, like they're beastmen. But what you don't have is, sorry, I couldn't resist, a situation where you see like a better sculpt for your army that's just sitting there. And I don't know. I have thoughts, but I want you to go first, Matt. See if you're thinking the way I'm thinking.
So we all know Age of Sigmar has this kind of delightful, almost cartoonishness to it, right? Like everything that has come out in Age of Sigmar has a sort of like Saturday morning cartoon villain sheen to it. Even the Stormcast could be a Saturday morning cartoon villain if you really put them in there. And I think actually one of the biggest like drawbacks from a lot of the old world players that I saw was, and that I've heard, let me just drop that, make a lot of noise. One of the biggest things that I've heard from a lot of those old fantasy battle players is like, well, this is, high fantasy, not like grim and dark, right? And they've got a point to a certain degree. Not to say that, like, when you think about it, Stormcast lore is probably way more disturbing than anything 40K has, like existentially, to be 100% honest, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like the lore itself, if you're a lore head, it is interesting, but the models, the sculpts generally don't reflect that.
Mm-hmm. True.
So myself, a great lover of like Grimdark, Blanchitsu, a lot of like the old school Warhammer feel. When I see these, I go, those are the models, right? And we compare that to Conan times 400 that we get out of our current sculpts. And I am just like, well, damn, because I know I'm going to get this box and it's going to look so much better than the ones that I already have. But at least I can intermingle now. And then I realized there are 40 Marauders in this box and 20 Horsemen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it got me thinking, what's one of the armies that's extremely underrepresented now? And what can I do? Like there's so much going on in Age of Sigmar. At the moment.
They're so beautiful. I think, anyone who's seen these previews, you just have to look at them as you listen to this episode to know. Maybe even do a side by side. Look at like the current like Darkoath Fell Riders and the Darkoath Marauders versus like these sculpts. And like my imagination was afire too, similar to what Matt was dealing with because I play a lot of Darkoath, as you guys know, and I have a lot of Darkoath painted and I have a few more in the box. And it's always a lot of fun. But, the first thing that jumped to mind is like, these sculpts are amazing. The second thing that jumped to my mind was, oh, should I get this box and add them to my Darkoath? And the third, Question was, would I even be able to fit them into an army in some sort of functional way? And I think maybe that's like, trying to justify the purchase, like not just will I paint up these amazing guys and they will be the ones at the table, not like the other ones, but like, is this an expansion of a force or a replacement of a force in a way? Because there's only so much, Darkoath muscle that you need. But I think the impetus to do so does sort of come from what Matt's saying, where the Saturday morning cartoon villain sheen of like the ultra exaggerated Conan you get in the current sculpt, while great and better than like obviously all the old Marauders that we had.
Mm-hmm.
It's not menacing, right? It's more like over breakfast cereal for a 7-year-old. This guy is going to like clang swords with He-Man, and he's going to like screech at his cat and like shake his fist and go back for the next week's cereal. Yeah. He is like that barbarian. These are the barbarians who are cannibals and probably ate your dad. This is like such a difference in feel. Like the scaritude is high.
Yeah. And they look like they came from the ash wastes of the north, right?
Yeah. Like they've been living a hard life, worshiping a three-eyed crow with like a weird beak,
Yeah.
Mixing your realms there.
Yeah.
Like the cold, frozen chaos space to the north. Near Kislev, yes.
Yeah, so it really got me thinking, how can I make this work? Because I know I'm going to get it. I do have like several long projects of old world armies and such, but I think if I were to throw these into my Darkoath army, then like it would fill out every possible iteration that I could think of Darkoath. So I went down a couple of different iterations. And
do tell.
I started looking, because one of the things that we immediately went into this edition, and Jack felt the harsh sting of what it is to be a Beastman player, only minutely, by losing his Darkoath funsies, right? Mm-hmm. And for me, I got stuck on that specific Army of Renown, thinking, how could I make this work, right? Because the challenge is there.
Wait, the Tribe of the Snow Peaks?
The challenge is there, and I think the challenge is possible.
That is the ultimate challenge. And I'm gonna throw this gauntlet down to anybody out there. Like, I think the ultimate expression of Warhammer skill might be taking the Tribes of the Snow Peaks to a 5-round GT with at least 24 players or 20 plus players and winning it. If you can do
winning
that.
2 games with it would be a challenge, right? Yeah. Just let's be honest, right? Winning 2 games with it. But the models, the units are cheap enough that you can do some really interesting stuff. So I started thinking the whole point to the army is generating, what are they called? Oaths, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one, like there's the oaths, and this is something we got to figure out, because a lot of these are once per battle, right? But it's once per battle for the unit. So if you're going to generate oaths, how do you want to do it? What's the easiest way to do it? Oops, all horsies is the easiest way to do it, as far as I'm concerned.
This is actually a great combo thing, because obviously we're talking about beautiful models and we need to find ways to use Marauders, but I am also passionate about Tribes of the Snow Peaks. And yes, this is exactly it. The problem with the sub-faction abilities or whatever and on the Tribes of the Snow Peaks is that you trade all of the beautiful guaranteed recursion of just Darkoath Horde or whatever for this weird system of like ritual points you only get when you fulfill oaths. And you only get like this limited resource, right, by doing this stuff on the war scrolls with those individual units. So you are never going to have very many. And there's no like oath battery unit. No one is like, I'm up here stirring my pot for one turn, I get an oath point, another oath point. It's more like you got to do some stuff. And sorry to wax poetic on this, Matt, but to recap for all of those who aren't as deeply invested in the Darkoath world as I am, which is almost everybody, what are your options? You have like an 8-inch charge on Marauders. They don't charge to sit there and die. That one's off. You have going to take an objective in like enemy controlled territory with Savagers. Sometimes, not all that common. Not going to happen early game because they're infantry. Go away. You have a bunch of stuff on heroes where they literally are squishy and need to kill another hero or monster. Can happen. Not frequent. You are literally left with, in terms of like the achievable ones, pretty much the cavalry, because they at least have the ability to just charge something, and not be near another unit, and they get their precious oath point. So yeah, farming them is basically 3 to 5 a game if you're lucky. So just start with that as something.
Well, so there's another unit that I think actually does this more than one would expect.
Go for it.
And that would be the Darkoath War Queen. If she's within enemy territory and charge this phase, for the rest of the battle, you add 1 to hit rolls for combat attacks, and you get the oath point.
That's fair.
And that's for units wholly within 12, right? So there are a lot of maps where enemy deployment is right up next to you. So that's one. You've got the horses, which you can do. My guess here is because of the awkward way that these rules are written, it's once per battle per unit. So you can do it multiple times with horses as long as you're not getting in, the same unit.
3-inch, same. Yep. You need to spread it out. That's true.
So you can tap 2 bumped units. That's 2 right there, right? The savages, that's an odd one because it's wholly within enemy territory.
It can definitely happen, but ironically, it happens more often when you can recur them. If you recur a unit of the Savagers in the backfield, then they can pretty easily grab it. But just foot slogging across, unless it's one of those 50-50 maps in terms of territory, you don't often get into the enemy territory, which is a sad situation.
Well, and it's wholly enemy territory, which means you're not going to even get it on all maps, right? Yeah. So there's a couple of those. So my idea was, regardless of whether I go with the tribes, because I would go with the other one right away, right? 4 doubled up units of horses. Just double them up.
Okay, 1,200 points of horses, but I'm following this. So 10 spots.
Yep.
4 of them. A lot of cloggy board presence. Of course, coherency problems, but still. That's 300 points a pop, and that's 30 wounds a pop, right? So they're pretty good wounds economy all the same.
Yeah.
And they're 5-up save, I think, not 4-up, 5-up save. And they either have the javelins or the broadswords. The broadswords are basically slightly easier to hit and 2 damage in the charge versus the javelins, which are, hey, look at me. I actually have more rend than the swords for some reason, and I can throw a javelin at 10 inches, which might do D3 damage.
Yeah.
Because apparently good javelins.
Very good. So my idea was split them 2 and 2, right? So 2 with the swords, 2 with the shoots, 2 up front, or 2 up front, 2 behind, right? Respectively. And 2 Darkoath chieftains, because they can slightly slap if they get lucky.
Yep.
3 Darkoath Wilder Fiends, because I just love the Darkoath Wilder Fiends. Why not? Let's roll.
You have to going to any event with Darkoath and not having 3 or 4 of them, just a crime. So fun.
Darkoath War Queen and 1 unit of Darkoath Savagers. So you can't reinforce the Savagers. So then you have at least some kind of base where she can give them +1 to hit, et cetera, et cetera. So you have a little baby distraction unit that can throw mortals. You have 2 other units that can throw mortals if you want to combine them, and they get better when they kill something, which is a potential oath. But they're also allowing the rerolls on the charges for the Darkoath Cavalry. So you're pretty guaranteed to make your charges.
Yep.
I'm going to knock on the wood near me.
You're using the chieftain, the chieftain riding the steed, his one ability.
Yeah.
I was having looking awesome style points with that guy.
Yeah. And then also if he's destroyed an enemy hero or a monster, which if you have a decent round of shooting followed by middling melee, he can definitely destroy a monster, right? Depends on the hero, depends on the matchup for a hero, but monsters, generally a 4-and-up save.
It's true. There's not a lot of guarantees in that based on you doing the matchup, but if you have the opportunity and you set it up right and you're like, okay, this monster is on 6 wounds, he might be able to do it. Even he cannot necessarily kill 6 wounds in a monster because he's swinging as anything.
But if you are using the Darkoath Fell Riders correctly, then you should be able to at least get 4 oath points by turn 3 at the very least.
And that's a good idea. So 4 oath points, because we'll just assume that you found the charges. Mm-hmm. You have 4 units. They've each charged once. And that's so assuming that they get bogged down, there's utter obliteration, which is like they don't get to charge again. So yes, I guess they can only fulfill the oath once. So I take it back. You're only ever going to get 4 oath points off that. But yeah, probably that minimum of 4. Mm-hmm. 3 of one of them gets charged first.
And the way these oath points work, you can do some pretty nasty stuff though. So those once you have 1, right, you can go ahead and you can put the oath points on the melee weapons for the guys that have already charged. So they have Rend 1 already. Now they have Rend 2 on their swords. So now they're kind of a blender, like a little baby blender, but a blender nonetheless.
Yep. Right? The Rendy one. I'm pulling it up right now, so I'm looking at the whole list, and we're not just talking everything.
And that's for 1 turn though. So you want to make sure that you do it the right way. It's almost like, and this I think is why it was appealing to me, is because it's almost like an army economy, like the Fire Slayers that we were talking about last episode, right? You have kind of the choice of what you're going to do, as long as you're farming the points. Like you can give extra attacks in melee. That would work great late game for the Savagers for those extra crits, right? Mm-hmm. You've also got 2 for replacement for another horsey unit that wants to come on. And that's like just more than 3 inches from enemy units. So saving 2 once you get to 4, save 2 for the rest of the game, use the others situationally. There's what else was there? There was some really good stuff.
There's some good ones in here. Well, we have to use our correct names. So let's list them off for everyone here, because we're deep into why to buy this box at this point. But there's the Daemon Fire Weapons, right, which is a 1 oath point for adding a Rend to the melee
per turn.
Situation is very useful, but also remember, very few oath points probably. Mm-hmm. There is the Hunger of Shesh-Shan, which is adding 1 to the attack characteristic of the target's melee weapons. You can't double these up. You can't pick 1 unit and dump 3 abilities on it, because they thought that would be too powerful. You can only do 1. Then there's Messengers of the Gods, which have 2 oath points at the replacement unit, wholly within 6 of the battlefield edge and more than 3, which is notably, I think, Matt, as you said, the same abilities you can do for free on a 3-up every one of your turns with a Darkoath sub-faction, Darkoath Lord sub-faction. Yep. But you don't have to roll the 3. You would just choose it, which is kind of good.
You pick it when you need it, right? Mm-hmm. As opposed, you're making trades. This is never going to be an easy army to play. In fact, it's probably one of the hardest armies to play in the game.
Oh, never. Yeah, never easy. But you could catch people out with some of these. You're just not going to realize you have this toolkit. Mm-hmm. We're not even done, Matt. Another 1 oath point special, the Rage of Arkar, which is basically you can use 2 oath points to use 2 fight abilities in the face. It's like the usual go once, then strike last. And this is your combat phase, not even your enemies, so very limited. Then I'll save the best for last. There's second to last, there's the Speed of the Blood Crow, which is basically you can run a charge. Maybe sometimes you want that. And then there's Shroud Pale Elk. And this is in some ways like people weren't expecting this one. I think one of the most mileage, which is you drop a point and your Snowpeak unit has a 4 ward save.
Yeah, and that's super interesting. It's super interesting.
And it's for the rest of the turn. So, maybe the best utility in this is all defense is 1 activation. This is for the rest of your turn. So, I don't know. I have this dream with this army of doing one of those, it's not even as good as the Goblin Chariots, but kind of Goblin Chariot-y, kind of null deploy. I'm the alpha pin you and you're not going to be able to do anything kind of thing, where you run in with a unit of 10 horses, and you tie up their whole army, and you immediately pop this, and you get 4 up ward. And all you do is just gum them up and just hope they don't make it through essentially at least 60 wounds with the save.
Yeah. Was it one unit or was it the full army? Sorry, I forgot.
It's just one unit, but you mean for the power of the Shroud of the Pale Elf?
Mm-hmm.
It's just the one unit, but like you pick the Snow Peaks unit that's not using Oath Ability's turn, and you spend an Oath point, and you give them that 4 up. And it's response to attack ability, but it lasts for the whole rest of the turns. It's not just against the attack ability. So in this perfect world, right, you have like the ultimate alpha pin here, where you somehow get a run and charge, or is it run and charge off of the no, it's a reroll charge.
It's reroll charge.
Yeah, reroll charge. But sorry, somehow you get sort of an alpha penny situation going. You get them in, you charge and tag at least 1 or 2 units that are going to gum up the center of their board. There's not going to be enough to do more than that, but enough to do that. The biggest, worst block for them to be gummed up on. You do the tag thing where like you're a little wider than you should be because you have like a triangle of horses on either end if you need to, knowing that you're probably going to have at least 4 of them killed. So there's not a lot of feels bads here. And you pop this when they declare an attack. So 2 or 3 activations of stuff here. Like maybe you've killed something or hurt it. It's still 10 horses, maybe with the broadswords doing good work or the javelins with a higher end. But you just use your own point. You're at a 4 ward, so they're going to have to kill 60 wounds of you in terms of damage. You're not even accounting for saves to get through this because you're 30 wounds with 4 up ward, which could just spike to some crazy number. And you still have a 5 up save, right? So like if they don't have a lot of Ren, you will survive a weird amount of damage, and then in their turn they'll pin them in. And this unit will just be doing whatever.
It's interesting because I was thinking of it almost differently. So you do a W, right? And you use the X height of that crux of the W as your shooting unit so that they can come out to where they're needed to support. But what you do is you make a turn 2 charge. So you let your opponent's army spread and reposition. So counter charges are harder. And at that point, you should be able to move up and grab some objectives, right? Because I'm always thinking scout, right? Scout and
oh yeah, scout.
But the reason for the W is this: you can trail off like 2, maybe 3 guys from the tips of your W, so that they stay within 3 inches of the shooting units. Because then, because of the Oath of Kinship, the heroic trait. They add 1 to hit roll for the unit's attacks for everyone. It's just attacks. It's not melee. That means your shooting is now better. That means your combat is now better. And now you have this kind of like little embrace that you can do for their first like forward push, right? And at that point, that's also allowing your mortal wound dealers to move up. And you can also use the Grand Offering, which is the artifacts of power for the army, to just start giving sacrifice points to your Wilder Fiends, who can then also nuke that unit. So whatever they first send out, you can charge in, hit it. Plus, if your opponent is also spreading out by turn 2, turn 3 to try and commit to objectives, now you've got multiple charges because now you're not going to have to worry about the 1 unit, right? So
true.
So there is something there with the horses, I think. Again, that you were playing on like expert mode, right?
Oh yeah, there's no room for error. Position is everything. But if you get it right, you could just like do so much. And I think there is room for it, like in such a fun way, where if you just like somehow got the right mix, and of course this is backed by a bunch of infantry to grab things and clog stuff and do whatever. You could have a fun old time and maybe win some games unexpectedly with people. But I do want to see someone seriously try this, like really just go do a tournament with the tribes of Snow Peak, all Snow Peak, all in. One of my friends around here, the local Wicked Dicey scene, Corey Bagley, and I have talked extensively about the tribes of Snow Peaks and how to make it work. And it's clearly like the acme of whatever play.
I mean, I'm going to say that I think it's doable, and I should actually have all the models to play it now if I want. So
with this
I
box,
will try
you
it.
do it.
Well, with a box, then I'll have all the pretty models. I have some old conversions of Marauders that are completely going out to pasture and going to get cut up for uses and conversions for other things later now that this box is out.
Mm.
But I did also just think about, what about Darkoath Marauder spam? Just multiple.
It's not a bad idea.
Like, or so only chieftain, only sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, you inspired me. Go into that. But these models are differently sculpted enough. You could literally just make them all Savagers. All of these 40 Marauders could be basically 4 boxes of Savagers.
They could be Savagers. I'm thinking more just Marauders. Just go with the Marauders, you know?
Yeah.
Because you can do, I think the list that I made earlier was like 160 or something like that. You can put an absurd amount of board control on the board. Let me see if I can find this here. I know I'm slowing us all down here, but
no, you're totally fine. Okay. But there's some truth there. Keep going.
So you can do it in either the Darkoath style list from the book, or you can do the Army of Renown, and I think it works in either one of these iterations. But this is the other list that I was thinking of: Darkoath War Queen, 3 units of reinforced Marauders. Darkoath War Queen, another 3 units of reinforced Marauders. That is 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120 wounds right away there, right? A Darkoath Chieftain with 3 units of Darkoath Savagers. Another Darkoath Chieftain with 3 Wilder Fiends. And if you wanted to stay in, you know, the what's it called? Just the Darkoath
theme,
yeah. But battalion, right? Darkoath battalion. Then you have a whole slew of other things that you can put in as far as like, your artifacts, your heroic traits, but you can also continue on with the Snow Peaks theme. And again, all you have to do is just trail and make sure that each of those units are within 3 inches of each other for whatever they're doing. And they're +1 to hit on all their
the W makes a lot of sense as long as you anchor that W on a piece of Obscurian, so that like Chieftain or whatever is totally inviolate, because it has to be the Chieftain to run around and be fast, and that'd be like 2+ logger. But yeah, that'd be awesome. And he would really like make javelins hit harder. He'd make like the broadswords do better, and he could of course redeploy and move up to actually support charges and things like that. So I'm down for that. I want to see you play that, Matt. That'll be super fun.
That is an insane amount of models. But the it's interesting. I think there is something there. It's just one of those like, have I exhausted all the easier to play armies, and do I feel like being challenged, right?
Well, exhausted of course is impossible, but there are many easier to play armies that different fluff. But I don't know, something about the lore of the Marauders and the Darkoath is just especially appealing. I mean, at least to me, and I think it's also fun because of the challenge. Like you got to think of it, right? I mean, these are like the true like remnants that Sigmar left behind and made their way. They kind of like still have like a normal human lifestyle but worship chaos. And there are these like literal like nightmare fuel Halloween creatures in the woods, which are basically their ancestors turned into chaos monsters who like follow them around, demand sacrifices, but also help them in battle. Like, what's not to like?
I forgot. That reminds me. The one linchpin that makes the W work even better is those welder fiends. You can place those anywhere, so then you're within 3 inches of another Darkoath model. So you're always going to have +1 to hit. They fill in the gaps. They nuke whatever's needed. Sorry, I just completely cut you off, but that was last piece of like, okay, there's your strategy. Use the dub, put the Wilder Fiends where there's any holes as you expand or contract or whatever you need to do, whether it's a horse-based list or a foot-based list. I think a mix of the two is probably not the way to go.
I'm sorry. I have to correct us.
What's
We've
that?
gone down this road and we thought we were building a grand strategy for the Darkoath on how they're going to get bonus +1 to hits and everything on the Grand W. Actually, it is much crappier than we thought. The Oath of Kinship is, while this unit is within the combat range of another friendly Snowpeaks unit, add 1 to the hit rolls for this unit's attacks. So your chieftain's got to get +1 to hit, but nothing else.
Oh, this unit. See, this is why I need to learn how to read.
That's okay. We were almost trying to make it too easy.
Yeah. But the +1 attack is great. Great, grand, wonderful.
You still got plenty of utility off the Fiends. Don't get me wrong, because even in the situation of W, you put them just near anything obscuring if you can, or at least a couple of them, and they're still anchoring stuff. They can't be targeted, and they can still barf out their fireballs. And notably, the fireballs do not require line of sight, so you can hit things in obscuring. You do whatever. It's 12-inch range. The power for many casualties, and they're pretty good fighters in their own right. So there's like a lot of fun to that. I was going to say that one of the things I like in terms of like conception for this sort of Snow Peaks Legion is kind of a very regimented Legion approach, in terms of like these modules. And I think you can actually get operating baskets, very cheaply for different regions of the field. And all you really need is this in terms of like the absolute bunker. You need 1 block of 20 Marauders to be like your MSU, control some sort of score, you sit on an objective, zone stuff out, whatever. You need 1 companion Wilder Fiend, and you need 1 cheapest chips Darkoath Chieftain at the cheapest. I think Darkoath Chieftain's at 90 points, if I remember correctly. So
90 or 80, yeah.
Yeah,
they're super cheap.
I think it's 80, but you tell me if I'm misremembering.
Yeah,
80, okay. So you think about this. So your chieftain is 80. The Marauders are 160 for 20, and the Wilder Fiend is only 130 right now. So what you have for 370 points is a mini beast who can feed off the death, a chieftain to activate the ability of the Marauders, and the Marauders to sit there and basically be like a big block of wounds to feed the beast or reflect wounds, or maybe even get some attacks in if it comes in. So you just move that block. This is your 370-point block onto an objective. Absent shooting, they're just going to sit there and camp and do stuff.
Yep.
And when something engages that block alone, independently, they're going to kill some Marauders. They're going to take reflected wounds. If there's, you're going to charge with Wilder Fiend, who can then barf some mortal wounds back onto it, or shut off commands and charge into support.
Yep, and it's not shabby in combat either.
Exactly. The chieftain comes in and helps later. And if you do that, he can chain activate. So he'll do his 5 Yahtzee mortal wound attacks for 2 damage. And then all of those, other Marauders get +1 attack. So they go from what I think 2 attacks to 3 attacks. All of a sudden, if you've killed half the Marauder unit, you're still soaking 30 attacks. They can run off a lot of stuff. I mean, it's not like 10 Chosen, but like that is a very tough block to shift with a lot of different pieces you got to consider. Yep. And you could replicate that 2 or 3 more times and then still have points left over for other stuff.
Yep.
And those things can all be in different objectives and theaters and sort of support each other if you need to be. And that's fun. Like there's a little something there too.
Yeah. We'll both have to try it.
Yeah, well, we'll noodle on this. It'll be fun. But what do you think, Matt? Should we move on to a new pasture, a part 2 of our episode here?
I just can't stop staring at the models that I could have had.
They're beautiful. They really are like the scary cousins of the ones in Age of Sigmar.
And they're less buff, wiry.
Yeah, like they look hungry. Like they've been in the north. Their flails look meaner. They actually have hooks in the end, like it looks like a horror movie.
They're actually missing teeth, It's the good stuff. Let's move on. Let's talk about this amazing tournament that you went to and played teams, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I had the pleasure this weekend of finally getting out of the house for once. I'd love to spend time with my lovely wife and children, but I did play Warhammer in person. I just did TTS every once in a while. So I had got a chance to join the Callum kids for the Wicked Dicey Teams Retreat, which is this amazing event that hold out sort of in the woods in Charleston, Massachusetts, twice a year. Where the gist of it is you sign up and you go out and you can stay either Friday and Saturday or just Saturday or whatever, but you're kind of camping out or staying in these little lodges, eating in the mess hall and playing Warhammer all weekend, around campfires and beers and magic cards, whatever else people are doing. And it's really quite lovely. Yeah. So I went out, and I didn't do the Friday night stuff because I do things at home with the fam, but left early Saturday, got in, had a fun time playing, and we didn't win this time, having won the last time. We did pretty well, and we had a lot of good games of Warhammer. 4 fantastic games, 4 friends, good, enjoyable experiences. But I will get into for the Mad Cows, who once again featured for this particular thing that you guys might represent or remember from the prior episodes. For their final swan song run, I want to bring them up for this. They did okay, but they did have 2 losses in the first day. They were quite clearly almost hilariously cinematic. And that's what I want to highlight here. Not so much anything about the individual games, you go through the full run, but the cinematic nature of these 2 game-turning moments with 2 Myrmidons, which I'm calling duels of the Myrmidons. And I think
I'm gonna call them Myrmiduels.
The Myrmiduels. Oh my God, you are clearly ready for it.
But before you get into it, just in case somebody hasn't heard previously, what was your list that you brought?
Okay, so my list is the mad cow disease, and this is one I invented and I had some success with. I mean, I won our AOS GT for the slow roll with it, and had played a game or 2 around that with some success. So it was doing pretty hot so far, but it's a weird meat concept list. It's all about Myrmidons who have been infected with Nurgle's delicious bounty. So they have eaten some bad meat and they have the mad cow disease, hence the theme. But I'll read it off to you guys. So if you're ready for the meta pick, no, this is probably going to be every single tournament you play because, of course, auto win. But starting off, Regiment 1, Gunner Brand, Singer Brand, those who are kin. Fun. Regiment 2, the Ogroid Myrmidon, with the Varanite Shackle, and 1 unit of Ogroid Therodons reinforced with the Dread Banner. Then you got Sagi Abraxia in the next regiment, who's a general, and her only friend is a Mind Stealer's Phalanx.
As is tradition.
As a tradition, the always strikes last. Then you have 1 more regiment, which is just the Ogroid Myrmidon. This one's special because you give them the double fight, heroic trait.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have 4 auxiliaries, which are just individual Myrmidons. Then you have, of course, the Nexus Chaotica and the Nurgle's Gift Regiment of Renown. And if you guys haven't encountered Nurgle's Gift Regiment of Renown, this is the one where every time one of your units dies, you hit pause and you roll dice, and there's a chance the Nurglings burst out of their guts or something as they die. It starts with a 5 up, it goes down from there. Yeah, it's real fun. And they show up anywhere within 6, in or out of combat, just little fun unit Nurglings, tying stuff up, creating problems. Yeah. And then, for this, bring the Aetherot machineries because it's cheap. And I also brought Intercept or Recover and Restless Energy as the tactics. So that's the state of this particular list. Of course, kind of went into it in detail before, but it's a lot of little super dangerous heroes because the sub-faction is the one that gives +2 attacks across the board to chaos heroes or monsters. So all these Myrmidons are 8 attacks base or 10 attacks when they're damaged. No marks considered. And that is a lot of damage when you have 3 damage weapons and, run 1, hitting on 3s, moving on 2s. So
and that's the infantry, so they can hide.
No, and do they ever hide? As you've seen that.
Mm-hmm. So yeah,
but yeah. So I mean, obviously it's a fun list. It has a lot of seat of your pants moments because a lot of your stuff is very much based in, having the best possible, matchups for these fights, but knowing that you have 8 wounds and a 4-up save. So it's not like, oh, I'm just going to tank this and hit him back. You have to pick your moments. You have to get always strikes last and stuff. But you have to hope that you don't get spiked statistically, or if you are in a bad matchup, you have some good luck on saves and stuff, so that you're sitting around at 1 or 2 wounds to clap back. Normally manageable, but sometimes life gets in the way. So the duels of the Myrmidons are these two hilarious moments in these games I was having where literally one Myrmidon in each case had a chance to take it all and just totally failed. And that was like the flip. So the first duel of the Myrmidon, was my first game was playing a friend of mine and a great local player named Sam Gould. And Sam was running like a mirror match Slaves to Darkness. And he also in this list had an Ogroid Myrmidon.
Mm-hmm.
Now his wasn't as crazy as mine necessarily because it wasn't all in the mad cow zone, but it was a situation where it was kind of mid game and a lot of fun stuff had happened. But I had run one of the Myrmidons up. It might have even been like the double fight scary Myrmidon up to be right near like his objective. It was like I think passing seasons or that four objective map where you just have to control the two in the diagonal. You get like the 10 points.
Yep.
And I was all set up for on my next turn, just hop on this objective because there's nothing left really to come back and interfere with me because there's another Chaos Army in positioning and get the two objectives and start Restless Energy. So I was trying to get my 10 points going there. The next turn, get the 5 points for Restless 2 because it's the only objective you need for that in that situation.
Yep.
And like things are going to be good. Like it was probably like a game-winning, game-defining position if he was left either unmolested or just survived some attempted molestation. And the only unit that could come and bother him was this other Myrmidon, who was also an intercept target. So if he came in and didn't go well, you just give me the 5 points. But it was like you had to do it. So this was like the most inspired and wonderful move. And I got, chef's kiss off to Sam, whoever he is, if he's listening, on how good this was. But it was cinematic. He had his sorcerer cast the 3d6 charge spell on this Myrmidon. He marks him Zinch. He moves him back up towards all this nonsense in the back. He rolls the Zinch teleport. It's like a 7 or an 8. Nothing crazy, but like enough. Right? That'll get 3, which would have messed up his whole plan.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets to about 9 inches outside of my guy. I dutifully try to redeploy. And then he rolls a 13-inch charge. And I only rolled a 1 on my redeploy. So he gets in to fight me. And now it's like, okay, each of these Myrmidons could probably kill each other with their eyes closed. Mm-hmm. And it's just like a moment of like, I'm going to pop my double fire. Like if he doesn't kill me, he is certainly dead.
Yeah. Whoever whiffs is dead.
Exactly.
On the next turn or immediately.
Exactly. And my thought had been like, if he had failed the charge, I would just kind of move right back in, even if I redeployed 6 inches away and still be in reasonable charge range of his guy and, do the exact same thing and try to do it to him when he was going to do it to me. And it was like that moment. But yeah, he got the swing off on me. And of course, like the incredible savagery of the Myrmidon killed my Myrmidon and and kept that game from going my way. Boom, done. So duel 1 of the Myrmidon, but very cinematic and very hilarious given like my whole Myrmidon theme. Like it's like if you have to go out on the blade of one model, let it be one of your own. So I was very, very happy about that. To the degree one could be. But real fun game. That's and then awesome. It was immediately followed by another amazing duel moment and another game deciding kind of thing, which was super funny. So part 2 of Duel of the Myrmidons. This was not a Myrmidon v Myrmidon duel, but it was almost as good.
So it was Myrmiduel part 2.
Myrmiduel part 2. So it was that mission, and I think you might remember the name. It's the one where there's like kind of the funky setup, and you have 3 objectives, and the third objective is often like true no man's land. Like you don't start near it, but it's worth like a little points at the beginning of the game,
and then it slowly goes upward and upward. Yep.
It's like 2, 2, 2, 2, 2.
I can't remember the name of that one.
Yeah, 10 points at the end of the game if you control it. I think that's what it is. So
which is a very fun mission.
It's very fun.
Enjoy that one.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was honestly kind of blast, but the spice in this particular setup for the duel to give everyone like the context is I was playing another friend, and another talented local player, tournament organizer, Ryan Muskoff, and he had the amazing list I'd never seen before coming off of the recent points reductions, which was sort of, I'll call it, oops, all liberators. Maybe that's the way to put it.
Okay.
And you just have to imagine, like, in this particular game, I'm trying to fight over these 3 objectives. I have limited models, and he has like a million liberators because this is 90 points right now.
Yep.
And that 90 points gets you 5 guys, 10 wounds, do crit mortals who have all of like the finest hour shenanigans or whatever, and they can be buffed by their prayers. And they have 3 up armor saves, so they're kind of tough.
And they can teleport in if you want to teleport them in.
They absolutely can. And so we had like a ton of them. A ton of them. It was sort of all those plus 4 cheap foot heroes, very purist. And the foot heroes were a couple priests, a wizard to do like some shenanigans, and I think one of the captain fighty guys. I think like nothing too fighty. I don't remember which one it actually was, but it's not like a model which would make you quaver in fear. It's not Bastion Karthlos or anything.
Yeah.
And yeah. So I spent most of this game trying to defend objectives and get points and kill liberators and not die in return because they get buffed up with prayers. They can be pretty scary.
Yeah.
And it'd been a lot of back and forth, but of course, like I'm killing a ton of them, but slowly drowning the tide liberators. And I have a moment where at the end of the game, it's like my turn 5, and all I need to do to get it to like maybe win the game is I have to get my guy onto the objective. And I think he took top of 5. So this is where we are. And it was at far left objective is one of my Myrmidons, and his situation, he's a little wounded. He's at like 6 wounds to start. So really 2 left.
Oof.
But
already in a scary territory.
But here's the setup. So I'm in a situation where if he just doesn't bother me, I can just auto run into this objective in my turn. Nothing really too close. I'll get the point. Instead, he moves one of his heroes directly interposed in the line, like one of these little leaning heroes with 6 wound guys. And he then sort of says, okay, well, here he is. You have to fight him or countercharge him to fight me, or I'll block your movement and thus win the game. So, of course, I countercharged in to fight him. And he had a couple different like activations because of the remaining things in combat. There might have been a different sort of objective. So we chose a different one first to activate. So I actually got to activate with this guy first.
Oh, no. I know where this is going.
Yep. So, of course, 3 up save. So +1/-1, with a rend. And I have like my 10 attacks. And I'd already rallied the guy to get only 2 wounds back with my 6 dice. So he's a little bit more wounded than he should be, right? So it's 4 wounds. And I managed to, this is the best part, I managed to not kill him. I think I did like 3 wounds instead of the 6 I needed. And it's like, here's like the 3s and 2s, 10 attacks, like special, like just didn't go through. I think he had a 3 up save at the time, but enough to normally do the job, right? Didn't have a ward, I think, or anything. So it's like, it was going to be fine. Wasn't fine. And then, so I was like, okay, well, it's all right. I didn't kill him, but he could just power through and then walk onto the objective because they had a command point left.
Oh, but you only have 4 wounds, and he's damaged too because he's a normal Stormcast hero.
Doesn't even have the crit mortal. I think it was just crit auto wounds this guy for some reason. But he rolled his dice. He got like exactly 4 wounds through, and he died to the wound. The wound he didn't statistically get back from his rally, that he should have and all that kind of stuff. So, obviously very funny. The duel went on, the Stormcast and the Therodon, but of course that was another game flipping thing because that was a 20-point swing and all that fun stuff, or at least a game closing swing. It was very fun and a very interesting kind of like, theme where these Therodons were fighting, Myrmidons were fighting for their life, to try to take out these champions, and it was like a decider, which felt like very good for having a hero-based list, but also kind of like epic in the moments that we were inhabiting with them.
Yeah, and that's the weird thing. They're Rend 1, right?
Yeah, and that's the weakest thing.
But it's strange because the Therodons, like, even though they're Rend 1, they have the anti-infantry. So like that's where that was my only like, ooh, I don't know how that's going to take that. When you brought up this list the first time, I was like, how are you going to take out infantry? Because they're anti-hero, right? Anti-hero?
Yeah, they're anti, not even hero. They'd be better. They're anti
Oh, monster.
monsters. So if you're a monster, the monsters here, they can actually do some work, like it, and they can sometimes be okay. But there are a couple weak points, and they came up a lot for me in this particular, game, despite some of our pairings. I would say that the biggest one is trying to deal with not necessarily any like infantry who were well armor saved, because that
Mm-hmm.
definitely could be better with the Therodons, but definitely them against the Myrmidons, because they have nothing to boost that really unless they're in a very
Oh, yeah.
specific situation with Abraxia. It's war machines and cavalry that have good armor saves. Like you don't have anything against them to reduce it.
Yep.
So my mechanisms to stop that from being out of hand and just becoming a dice game for damage are pretty much having the ability to, one, lock them in with the Therodons or the Dreadbanner, and they can only be one place at once, right? Or hoping that I have multiple activations with something like, two, Myrmidon, sorry, such that he can't go ahead and like, all defense more than once, because of course it's, no longer all phase. And that's
Yeah.
enough, but it's kind of a poor toolkit. And, when you have a good armor save army, you can really be you can really neuter the output unless you get lucky.
Yep.
And I did run into it a couple times. I mean, obviously the Stormcast, these blocks of like 180 point, 20 wound can still
It's
kill
so
you, but they have
ridiculous.
whatever. Like yeah. These guys, you get a prayer off on them, they can do like or find a stour, they can be even harder to kill. They can have a 5 up save or something, right? They
Mm-hmm.
can wound on twos, can be threes and twos. Crit mortals is like, yeah, like you don't have like a million attacks, but you can still kill like
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
stuff. Write it
Yeah.
down.
Like Stormcast are consistent and they suffer on numbers because of
Mm-hmm.
it. But when yeah, the numbers game against Stormcast is always so deceptive
Oh, it's so
these
true.
days because you never really know what buff they're going to be able to throw on them. It's such a toolkit army.
And all the
Like going at it.
teleports,
Yep.
teleport chamber over there, the sky, like the fact they just have like a teleport prayer, like it's a movement shenanigans army. And like
Mm-hmm.
it's so tough. Actually, in that game, neither here nor there, but another factor was the two priests were able to literally yoink all three intercept targets from the brink of death
Mm.
at different times. One was a 10 man down to 1 man alive. One was one of the wizards who survived their Myrmidon attack and somehow come out unscathed again with his 4 up saves.
Nice.
And the third was the priest himself, who had that artifact or heroic trait where he dies and comes up in a 3 up. He rolled a 3 up,
Mm-hmm.
he came back up, and then he teleported himself away again. So like, it's
What a
crazy.
jerk.
Yeah, I mean the movement is insane. I love it.
Yeah.
But it was a good time. Enough of that. I did learn that the weakness of that list is probably it's always going to have the hardest time against heavy armor, unless
Mm-hmm.
you get a little lucky or you. But if someone Space Marine saves you, you're in hot water.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good old times. Wonderful event. I think I highly recommend it. Anyone who has a chance to play. The thing you got to remember about it is that it's teams. So teams is really fun, but it's a great way to get into teams because it's not like trying to go to Worlds or something. It's like you're going to be there, you're going to have a fun experience camping and doing some cool things in the environment. And you're going to have like a lot of fun, a lot of theme around you as you kind of like, try to claw your way through like these matches and to get differential points for your base.
Nice.
So highly recommend it. If people are interested in it, I would go to the Wicked Dicey website. It's definitely something which is pretty approachable. There's 2 a year. There's a spring and a fall. They're kind of the same, just flip the seasons.
And if you aren't able to go there, just support Wicked Dicey in the first place. They're super nice guys. We've had a couple of them on the show, haven't we?
Oh, absolutely. And then we'll have more. We have a couple guests we're still trying to get spots on for, but you can look out for some of those guys in the future. I think we're going to round it out with just maybe one announcement, right, Matt, for this
Oh yeah,
particular
yeah,
episode.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. Which is just to say that, for all you dear listeners and Patreons and future patrons, we are going to continue our theme of doing the always strikes last, slow rolls. We're going to do an RTT this time because, the GTs are going to have to be few and far between due to the immense amount of time and effort they take.
Mm-hmm.
But this RTT is going to start in a few weeks. We're going to have a time to begin just around the beginning of November. to give people a chance to get themselves situated and everything, and to make sure that everything is legal in terms of the new battle tomes. So,
yeah, because we know half of you are bringing Hellsmiths.
Yeah,
so.
I will bring Hellsmiths too. But Hellsmiths will be legal. It'll be fun. This will be a nice 3-rounder, and it, of course, will wrap up before Christmas. So if you're interested, definitely join the Patreon and check it out. It should be a pretty easy sign up from there, and we'll get that going pretty shortly.
Yeah. That'll be what, our 4th one then, or 3rd one?
That'll be our 4th RTT, I think, and our 4th tournament overall, or 3rd RTT and our 4th tournament overall. That's right.
Yeah. So they're always a lot of fun. Everybody seems to enjoy the hell out of themselves on it, and you get a nice mug when you win.
It's true. The winter mug is rare. I have it sitting over in my kitchen. My daughter plays with it sometimes.
So I think we've come to a good place with that. Huh? Do the bell stuff with the liking and the subscribe and share it to a friend. And Rocco will tell you the rest of the spiel.
We'll do that. If you're listening to the videos or watching the videos on YouTube, maybe boost it a bunch. That seems to be a good thing. Yeah. But yeah, thanks as always, guys, for coming to listen with us.
Is it time?
It's time. What's the last word going to be? It's going to be Hellsmiths.
Hello, everybody. It is Rocco, your boy, coming at you once again with another Always Strikes Last promo. That's right. Ring that bell. Leave a like, a subscribe. On whatever platform you're listening to us on, be it YouTube, be it Podbean, whatever you got these days, so you can keep up to date. Don't forget, we have a Patreon if you want to, give us a thank you for all the stuff we put out. That gets you into our member-exclusive Discord. And if you want to be an even bigger supporter, we've got a merch store.